Welcome back to 10 Times Better. This week, Pastor Rocky Hernandez is speaking with Pastor Casey Coates and the head of our women's ministry, Jill McDill, as they talk about what it means to have biblical hope and how we can learn from Daniel's unwavering trust in God. They'll discuss what hope looks like, what hope means, and how we can find hope in the middle of darkness all around us. Then we'll hear part of Jerry's testimony as he encourages us that even through the trials we face, we can find our hope in God, who gets the ultimate victory in the end. Let's join today's discussion as we learn about how to keep hope alive even in the midst of hard times.
Welcome to session 4 of 10 Times Better. We're so glad that you are joining us, and we hope that you have been blessed by this series and are continually challenged as you're learning new things every week. And speaking of being blessed, I am blessed today to be in the presence of two amazing people, Pastor Casey Coates and Jill McDill, who heads up our women's ministry here at Sea Life. Jill, glad to have you here today. Casey, you're leading our discussion. Why don't you just jump right in, man?
Yeah, thanks for having us. So I want to start with a little bit of hypothetical here. So Rocky and Jill. So imagine this. Feel free to play along at home. Imagine this. Russia has attacked the U.S. and, we lost there. They killed your family and they have hauled you off as a prisoner of war, shipped you back to Moscow, where you are going to be a servant to Vladimir Putin, president of Russia. How are you feeling?
Grateful that I studied Russian in high school.
Did you really?
I did. Я знаю русский язык.
Okay.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
Yeah, хорошо. And I think sad, man. I think just sad for the loss of a nation. I can't imagine. I mean, that's a lot of loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's my overwhelming.
Yeah, it's big. Jill?
I think I would obviously be really sad too, but I think also a little just panicked. Like, what am I going to do? Nobody's here. I don't know. I don't know the language. I didn't study Russian. So I don't know the language. I don't know anybody. What's going to happen? And really just a sense of panic at the start. I mean, honestly, I would just be kind of freaked out at the start.
I know. Yeah, and I think sometimes we read the Bible as these stories and they sound kind of like fables, and we don't really think about how these are real historical events that happen to real people. And so this little hypothetical that I set up with Russia, that's basically exactly what happened with Daniel. And can you imagine that?
Yeah, the loss of
where it's like everything
people
that you knew about life is gone. And there's so many layers of grief and fear stacked on top of each other. And I can just imagine that you would begin to despair and hopelessness.
Right.
And maybe some of us have felt like that living right here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe feel like we're trending toward that direction right here. That's increasing evil everywhere you look.
Right.
And it feels like our country has long ago left God in the rearview mirror and that Christianity is under attack. I mean, I think it's possible that some of us as believers, sometimes we feel like we are prisoners inside of a pagan nation.
Do you guys feel like Christians have been defined by fear over the last little bit? Like that has been like a predominant motivating factor in the way that we've been living?
I'm not sure about fear, but I have seen a whole lot of this. Jesus must be coming back soon. I mean, this is awful. We're living and this is just a terrible time. And it does portray a sense of some hopelessness. Like, well, there's nothing else we can do except hope he comes back because this is sure terrible. And you know what I mean? And instead of just saying, hey, we're good. We know who wins in the end, so we can have hope. But instead just having this dreadful feeling.
Yeah. I don't know if I would paint with broad strokes to say all Christians. I don't think that's true. That all Christians are projecting this fear. But I certainly think that there's a number of us. And I felt it in my own spirit at times. Whenever you look at kind of the instability in our country in a lot of different arenas as of late or the past couple of years, that not so much fear for my life. I feel like I'm going to be okay, but fear for my kids, what type of country my kids are going to grow up in.
Yeah.
And are they going to have the opportunities I had? And are they going to be able to be successful and that sort of things? And that can create some turmoil in my spirit. But so I want to go back to this idea of, I feel like we are called to always hold on to hope. And so Hebrews 10:23 says, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess.
Yeah.
Interesting wording, isn't it? Unswervingly. Don't swerve from hope. Yeah, that's good. Say, never let go of hope. Yeah. Is what that verse is saying. Never let go of hope. And so I just want to talk, I've got 3 truths for us for how to always keep hope alive. Okay. And the first is our hope is Jesus. That's important for us to know. So the second half of that verse, Hebrews 10:23, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. The he is talking about Jesus in that context. Jesus is our hope. So that's important to understand. That's how you can keep hope alive. That in the midst of hopeless circumstances, it's just good to be reminded that our hope is not in circumstances, but our hope is in a person who happened to be God, Jesus.
Yeah, man, that's solid. And I think I see that play out in my life a lot over the years, especially like when I was younger in ministry and I had just gotten out of college and I had just had, some student loan debt and moving to a new city. And I felt like I was supposed to have all of these things. Like this is how my life was supposed to be going. I was going to find a solid job. Of course, I'm a youth pastor right out of college, just got ordained, early 2000s. And surprise, surprise, I'm not making a ton of money. And I always felt like, okay, I'm so frustrated because, you're supposed to be providing for me because you're my church family and we have an agreement here. I need to be able to you need to be giving me enough to at least meet my needs. But man, this was how it played out. It's exactly what you said. My hope is in Christ. And I had to get to this point to where I realized it was God who said he would meet my needs. It was him I was supposed to be trusting, not a body of elders or not like a grant program or a scholarship program or a part-time job or even trusting in my own abilities to solve big problems in my life. But it was Christ who said he would meet my needs. And when I had lost my focus in those situations, I recognized, man, I struggled. And there were times where I felt hopeless, and it was exactly because of that.
Yeah. Okay. And that's important because so while circumstances, culture may change, Jesus is the great unchanging.
Yeah.
He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So as long as you keep your hope rooted in him, you're going to be okay.
For sure.
So that's the first little point to keep hope alive.
Solid point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it only gets better from here.
Okay.
The second
Blow me away, man. Let's hear it.
The second one is our home is heaven. Our home is heaven. So there's a bunch of instances in the New Testament where it refers to believers as sojourners. It's an interesting word, sojourner. What is a sojourner? They are a foreigner who is just passing through. Yeah. There's a verse in, I believe it's 2 Timothy, you might know, where it says, as a good soldier for Christ,
right.
Good soldiers don't get caught up in civilian affairs. Yeah. They've got a mission. But they're not getting distracted by the things that regular old civilians are.
Yeah, I know sometimes for me, I have to remind myself of this because I may look around at the world and start kind of, like we said earlier, a little bit of panic or freaking out. And I have to remind myself, hey, this isn't our home. This isn't the end, and tell myself, hey, remember this happened in the past. Jesus took care of you on this day and on this day and on this day. And even remember my story. And then obviously you can go back to the Bible and see all these other stories where Jesus took care of them and was faithful then as well. And so sometimes I think we have to remind ourselves of these truths like, this isn't our home. This isn't the end.
Yeah. If circumstances are declining in such a way, in your opinion, on this earth, just remember, it's not your home. Okay, so point 1, our hope is Jesus. Point 2, our home is heaven. Point 3, our eternity is secure. And so I just think that's important because once again, if it feels like circumstances are crumbling in the world, in your life, I love the verse, Romans 8:18, that says that our present sufferings aren't worth comparing with the future glory that will be revealed in us. And what that verse tells us is the worse it gets here, that just speaks to how much better it's going to be there. And so just knowing that life goes on past this life, just knowing that we are eternal beings who, if we know Jesus, we will spend eternity with him, that it brings a little calm and perspective to us. Death is just a doorway we pass through. That's all it is. When I cross from my living room into my bedroom, I don't freak out. I'm just in a new room. It's just crossing through a doorway. It may be painful for a moment. Not saying it won't be. I hope mine's not. I'm not hoping for a painful death, but death is just a doorway into that which is truly life.
Brother, I will always remember you saying right now, if you feel like this life is all that you have, you will cling to it as if it is all that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that blows me away. That's solid.
Okay, so can I transition here a little bit in conclusion? This may feel like a bit of a non sequitur, but it's really interesting to me. So prophet Jeremiah, he actually prophesied to the nation of Judah while they were in Babylonian captivity. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. Book of Jeremiah runs parallel to the book of Daniel. Well, so in Jeremiah 29, verse 4 through 6, Jeremiah says these words to the Jews in Babylonian captivity. And he says, "Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all the exiles whom I have sent into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon, build houses and live in them, plant gardens and eat their produce, take wives and have sons and daughters, take wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, that they may bear sons and daughters, multiply there and do not decrease." God is speaking this to a bunch of people who have just been taken prisoners of war. And what does it sound like he's telling them?
This is where you're at. Live your life. Yeah.
Go on with life.
Live your
Go on
life. Yes. Increase, marry, eat good food, enjoy it. Enjoy your life here, even though you have this hope for the future, but enjoy it now too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, isn't that interesting? Don't freak out. Even though you have every reason in the world to be freaking out, whatever you do, don't freak out.
Wow.
Make the most of it. Make the best of it. Hey, be fruitful here. Be fruitful. And so this time in your life, whatever you're going through, and in the most difficult seasons of your life, they can be some beautiful and fruitful seasons if you keep hope alive.
Absolutely.
If you hold on to hope. Our hope is Jesus. Our home is heaven. Our eternity is secure. I think it's important for us to remember that.
Pastor, that's wonderful. Solid teaching, man. Solid teaching and just incredible thoughts and quotes. And I hope that you are challenged by these messages, Pastor Casey Coates, and putting your hope in Christ and knowing that you're clinging to heaven and eternal focus. And while you're here, to cultivate and live a good life. Those are incredible things. We hope that you feel challenged, and we hope that you have new thoughts as you try to live your life 10 times better.
Oh, see, my testimony it's pretty awesome in the way I think showing your faith is showing love. Well, I can tell you, over the past 2 years, my faith has definitely been tested. Faith, hope, love. I definitely needed hope this past 2 years. In no particular order, my dad died. I lost 2 jobs, lost a house. I thought I was gonna be living with some friends for about a month. Ended up being about 7 months. With my family, that was tough. My wife and I had to force our 16-year-old son into drug rehab. That took a lot of faith, a lot of hope. There was a lot of prayer on our knees, some sleepless nights. I don't think I ever prayed so hard. I think there was some tough conversations with God. There was some times where, honestly, I kind of threw my hands up. I had a lack of faith and some depression. But I just kept trusting in God, and I just kept remembering Psalms 23. In the end, it says, surely goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our life. And before that, God does say, we're going to walk through the shadow of death, but He is there for us. But through the joy of seeing prayers answered, it made our faith stronger, gave us more hope for the future. I just didn't lose faith. There was times, I got down, I got depressed, it got tough, but I knew God was faithful, and I knew He'd take care of me. And I just stayed positive in His Word, positive in my mind, and encouraged by my wife and my children. I knew I could make it through it with Christ. I continued to trust God because of hope, and I knew that He would take care of me. I also know in the end, I'm going to be with God eternally. Well, going through all this, it brings ultimately a lot of joy. To now see my family have fun again and just laugh again and just have respect for each other and trust each other just brings amazing joy and peace. It was a tough time, but to God be the glory now.
We're reminded through Jerry's story that God always wins in the end, and the promise that we will one day see Jesus face to face is the hope that we can hold on to in the middle of difficulty. Pastors Rocky Hernandez, Casey Coates, and Jill McDill spoke on how the world can sometimes be a discouraging place, but left us with a reminder that our hope is in Jesus, our home is in heaven, and our eternity is secure. We hope that these truths encourage you today and that your group is able to share where you find your hope. Don't forget to check the link in the description for the discussion questions for this week, and we'll see you next time.